Well, I am Reverend Gerald Davis, and you're in the right place. One of the things that I wanted to make sure early on is that I use the word church a lot because church means, in terms of the Greek, the original, ecclesia. Ecclesia was what they called the churches. And the church was, ecclesia was those called out. Those called out. Now I know we have had stripes and bruises from being in churches. And so we don't kind of like that. But my cultural heritage says that when I'm talking to people, I'm talking to church. So I may say to you, church, that only says I'm talking to you. That doesn't mean that all the things that go with it, the creedal craziness, all of that, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking to you, those who are called out as church. So church, we're going to talk this morning about inescapable web, that inescapable web. And that's a combination of Dr. King saying, we are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality tied in a single garment of destiny. Dr. King said that. Our seventh principle of Unitarian Universalism says the interdependent web, we affirm and believe, the interdependent web of existence of which we are a part. So interdependent web, inescapable network. And I just said inescapable web. That's where we are. Now, why am I talking about an inescapable web this morning? I am talking about that because that's what Dr. King was all about, and that's what the UUA is all about. Now, you may say, what, UUA, Dr. King, the two together? Yeah, absolutely. Now, I didn't say this in the other service, but this is quiet as it's kept. Dr. King considered becoming a Unitarian. Yeah, now you may say, what, this Baptist preacher? But let me tell you, the last year of Dr. King's life was hell. Black people put him down. The Black Baptist denomination kicked him out. Oh yeah, you didn't know that. Do your history now. And of course, the good white folks were saying, this is getting kind of rough down there, and they turned away. And so Dr. King began to explore Unitarian Universalism, but he ran up short on one thing. He said, y'all don't believe in sin. He said, but sin is what makes people change. And we got to have sin, Dr. King said. And so people let it alone. But Dr. King was always good friends with the Unitarian Universalists. He gave one of the Ware lectures. So the Unitarian Universalism resonated with him. Of course, I'm not even talking about Reverend James Reeb, who gave his life in Selma, a Unitarian Universalist minister. I'm not even talking about Viola Luiso, who transported from Detroit, who transported people after the Selma to Montgomery March. She was transporting people from Montgomery back to Selma. She was transporting people from Montgomery to Selma, and on her way back, she got shot and killed. A Unitarian. We know about Schwaney and the three civil rights workers. One of them was a Unitarian. I mean, Unitarians have given blood for this struggle, this interdependent web that we're talking about here, the inescapable web. So I wanted to labor a little bit on this idea of interdependent mutuality, all of that, all of that. Now, Justin, if you can hear me, would you play the MP3 so the folks can hear that the Unitarian Universalist Association are very serious about being interdependent, which means, for those of you not really thinking about it, it means multiracial, anti-racist, beloved community. Now, that's what we're talking about. Multiracial, anti-racist, beloved communities called churches. Justin, can you hear me?
The call of our faith. Be it further resolved that the General Assembly urges the Unitarian Universalist Association, its congregations, and community organizations to develop an ongoing process for the comprehensive institutionalization of anti-racism and multiculturalism, understanding that whether or not a group becomes multiracial, there is always the opportunity to become anti-racist.
That was General Assembly done in 1997. That was 26 years ago. The UUA said, we want everyone calling themselves a UUA congregation to be multiracial, anti-racist, beloved community. That was 1997, church. 1997. And so what I'm doing this morning is reminding us that Dr. King wanted us to be the tip of the spear, that the UUA wanted us to be the tip of the spear. We're the ones we've been looking for. It's us. So I'm here to remind us on Dr. King's birthday. He would be 94 today. On Dr. King's birthday, killed in 1968 on April the 4th. But let's go back to 1 year earlier, April the 4th, 1967. Dr. King gave an address at Riverside Church that changed his life. What did he say? He said, I cannot support the Vietnam War. He said, we have the three triplets that are killing us: militarism, materialism, and racism. He said, militarism. Dwight Eisenhower, on leaving the presidency, said, beware of the military-industrial complex, where companies are building bombs and machinery to kill, to get profit. And that militarism, that thinking about military, that is messing us up. And Dr. King said, the money that we're spending in Vietnam, we could be spending right here in the United States getting people out of poverty. But we're not doing that. But instead, we're over there in a war that people are saying, why are we fighting here? So Dr. King gave that speech. And he talked about how materialism was the choice rather than doing something with poverty. But it was about making money and keeping our economy bustling at the expense of people working for low wages and not getting anywhere ahead. And he said, and then, of course, we have that old bugaboo racism that has never gone away. So Dr. King got systematic April 4th, 1967. And when he did, white supremacy killed him. They said, we're going to do something about this. Because this man is talking about a systemic approach. Dr. King was saying, this is not just about the content of your character. We Santa Claus Dr. King, don't we? We make him a Santa Claus. Oh, it's not about the color of your skin. It's the content of your character. And it's all about being a good human being. Just be a good human being. And that's all we need to worry about. Dr. King was not talking about that. He was saying, yeah, the content of your character is more important than the color of your skin, but that content has to be used in a group setting. We have to move in a way that is united because we are caught in that inescapable web. And so Dr. King was trying to get us to understand that when we have that good heart yoked with other good hearts, we have positive enforcement of that good heart and the content of your character. So it's not just be a good person, it's do something with it. Right? So Dr. King gets Santa Claus when we always do that. And you're going to see it tomorrow. It's just going to be over and over and over again. That's all we got to do is have the good heart. And it's like, no. There's a step 2. It's the good heart put into use. And that's why we do the service. And now they turned it around to just do something on that one day of service. And that's good. I'm not saying fixing dinners for the homeless is bad. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying that's not what Dr. King was about. He was saying we are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality tied in a single garment of destiny. He was saying we need each other, church. He was saying it's the interdependent web of existence of which we are a part. This is what he's saying. If we're interdependent and we need each other, we got to move together. So the 3 triplets got him killed because he started looking at things in a systemic approach. Dr. William J. Barber, who picked up the Poor People's Campaign, where Dr. King left off, added a 4th. He said it's not only those 3, the 3 triplets, but we also have the false narrative of Christian nationalism. Did you hear me? The false narrative of Christian nationalism. You got folks running out here talking about the United States was founded as a Christian nation. That is a lie. Do not let that go any further. When you hear people talk about, but we're a Christian nation. No, we were not founded as a Christian nation. Thomas Jefferson said one time, we all gonna be Unitarians. Now, he said that because John Adams was a Unitarian. Everybody around was Unitarian. They were fleeing Europe to find religious freedom. That's what this country is all about, religious freedom. It is not about a Christian nation. No, it is not true. Now, Thomas Jefferson's prediction did not come true, and he didn't formally become a Unitarian. He was too busy in the bedroom. John Adams kept looking at him. He said, man, you gonna be a Unitarian? What? You can't do what you're doing. So, church, this is the point. People will rob us of our vitality by putting us in the little places, saying, all those liberals, all those wacky liberal, whatever, put us in a little hole right here. No, this is a big thing. To be the tip of the spear. We already have been called, the UUA has said, we're going to be multiracial. We're going to be, that's right, I said gone. We're going to be multiracial. Well, we're not going to get caught up on one sexual orientation. That's not going to make a difference. Where we're going to go is to say, come on, if you are with the idea of interdependence, the inescapable web, come on, because we got work to do. So I say that and tell you that folks have been watching us. Nancy Palmer Jones and her colleague, why am I blanking on her name? Her last name is Lynn. I'm blanking on her name right now. They wrote a book called, I must be tired because my brain, Mistakes and Miracles. Thank you. Mistakes and Miracles. Now, they wrote this book looking at 5 UU congregations, looking at them to see, are you multiracial, anti-racist, beloved? And they didn't just say, well, eeny, meeny, miny. They actually chose 5 congregations that were saying they are. And one of those 5 congregations was All Souls. And these folks came here. You may have talked to them. And they interviewed, they came back, they left, they came back. So their book looks at a time frame of around 2008 to around 2017. And they're looking at what are these congregations doing. So I got, this book was chosen, the UUA Common Read was chosen for the UUA Common Read, and it is Skinner House Publications, and it's sold out. So they are republishing it, and they're making an audio copy. But they sent, for those of us who need audio to read a book, they sent us a website where we could go on and listen to the book. And they said, but listen to it because as soon as the commercial audio version comes on, we're ending yours. You won't be able to listen to it. So I quickly moved fast, and I said, I got to look at All Souls. And they put 2 chapters devoted to All Souls. So I read through that. And this is the point. We know what happened between 2008 and 2017. The issue is, how is it presented? Yeah, we made some good road ahead. And because people are committed and because there is money in this congregation, we got some things done that other folks could not do. But there are some things that were hurtful. And they don't mince any words about that. But they talk about the whole point of this is that you don't just automatically become multiracial, anti-racist. You have to work. And then you have to continue to work. Because I'm telling you, church, we are in a system that does not want us to think like that, to think broadly, to be interconnected, interdependent. No, we don't want. We want to talk about the exceptionalism that only some people get to the top of the mountain, and that the rest of y'all, well, there's always the post office. But you know, for that kind of reasoning, that kind of approach that says you're not good enough to be here, right? And so folks bust their behinds trying to be good enough. And then they're told it's not a good fit. You know, so you know, we know what's going on. The systemic approach got Dr. King killed. White supremacy killed Dr. King, right? And so we know what's at stake here. The tip of the spear is who we are, because we are, as Dr. King said, we embrace that, and we embrace what the UUA wants. That means that for a whole bunch of folk going to point the finger. Do you remember the hubbub that came about when Black Lives Matter was painted on Greenwood, and the city made them, because folks wanted Blue Lives Matter, you know, was to get into that one-on-one thing, you know, can't be interdependent. It's either or, you know, in their thinking, either or. And so they erased it, and All Souls jumped up and said, we're going to put it in our parking lot. Yeah. And Black Lives Matter was painted. I said, well, come on up to Restoration on the north side. Put it up there. And they did. Folks came on up there, and I had folks coming by in North Tulsa saying, yeah, Restoration. Because we had Black Lives Matter on our parking lot. And we had Black Lives Matter here at All Souls on the parking lot. And that was important. Whole bunch of people didn't like that, church. They didn't like that. And they started talking about that. Those liberals, as if we're bad people being called liberals. No, we're interdependent people. We're people that say, you can't leave. We're in an inescapable network of mutuality. We need each other. So, church, when you read this book, I think it's a fair reading. It talks about some issues that we had becoming multiracial. It's not easy to stop thinking in a white supremacist way. We have to do that. It's hard. I remember in one of our talks that I had with people, and this lady came up to me afterwards and said, didn't we do anything right? And I laughed and said, yeah, you did. I said, but this is not about you and white people doing right things. This is about a system that does not allow that all of us to come in and say some things. It only wants certain things said. So where we are right now in this book, they're saying it, was the visioning statement. That's the last part of what they wrote. And the visioning statement was really important. Remember when we signed that vision, what we saw as our vision for 2021? And we signed all of that, and we all said this is the way we want it to be. We were going to move downtown. Well, we didn't go downtown. And it's okay, because we can gather in people right here. We can bring people here. We need to rehab our infrastructure here. We need some things done right here, and we can get that done. We can get that done. But the most important part is not that we didn't move, and that's a quote-unquote failure. No, the most important part is that the work that people know we have to do never stopped. The work came to our door because of what we have been saying we are about. People came to us and saying, can you help us? And this church responded. It has always been that kind of place. I'm very excited to be part of you. But sometimes we need to talk really plain. And even I need to have that talk. You know that I coordinate All Souls Reads. And our point is to read books that define systemic oppression, but also overcoming systemic oppression. And we have read books that dealt with the truth, how the federal government segregated the United States of America. Well, FHA, for you, some of you all not knowing that, people came from the war in World War II, and the Federal Housing Administration had open arms for white soldiers. Black soldiers didn't get that money. They couldn't move where they wanted to move. And that book, how The Color of Law, was an important book to some people. They didn't know our country was like that. Oh, it's all of that. Because it's not that I hate America, it's that white supremacy is what is driving this stuff. To keep people separated, to keep people away from each other. What are they afraid of? They're afraid of the interconnected web. They're afraid of this network of mutuality. They're afraid of the fact of that's power, church. That is power. And that's why the Voting Rights Act of 1965 has been eviscerated. And that's why the Supreme Court has said, okay, that is power when you give people that kind of right to vote and you don't separate them and compact them and only put them in one district, but you have them spread out. Power is the thing. And power is about systemic. Frederick Douglass said power has never acceded to a demand. Say it right. Power, no. Say it again. You know, I'm getting old. And what used to be at the tip of my tongue is at the back of my head. And power concedes nothing without a demand. There we go. Power concedes nothing without a demand. Never has, never will. Power concedes nothing without a demand. And so if we don't demand, power will say, good, you're happy? Good, I'm happy that you're happy. And keep moving. So we're dealing with a system, church, that is not happy to have people standing up saying stop. We want something else. I am here today to remind us on Dr. King's birthday, his 94th, to remind us that Dr. King and the UUA says we need to get active. Now, we have that here. This church can do it because we have folks who are doing things. But it's not just the individual. We have to be a group. We have to have that power of numbers. And I'm telling you, church, it's important to do it. This is not one of these things, I'll do it on down the road. We have to do it now. We have people lying about who they are to get into Congress. Right? You would say, what? They're lying? Yes. All kinds of lies to get there. Why? Because it's power. It's power. When Herschel Walker was running, I know. I heard this comedian say, voting for Herschel Walker is about as sensible as having an ashtray on a motorcycle. You know, it's like whoever voted. But what did the woman say? I didn't say it's just women, but I heard this woman say, I don't care what Herschel Walker can't do. I don't care. Has done, don't care. He's a Republican. And we want the vote. So that's where they are. I mean, that's who we're dealing with. The Republican Party didn't used to be like that. They had people in you could talk to. I voted for a Republican one time. I did. I voted for Dick Crawford. You remember him? And the reason I voted for Dick Crawford, he was running against Terry Young, the incumbent, and Terry Young had dissed Martin Luther King's birthday. He had dissed it. We don't need it. And what are you talking about? Yeah, you know, and I'm not voting for you. And I voted for Dick Crawford. Yeah, that's my one Republican. No, I take that back. I did vote for Tom Coburn one time. I voted for Tom Coburn one time. I'll tell this truth. Tom Coburn delivered our first child. Brooks Whitlock Miller Davis. I was right there, and I saw how Tom was working as Dr. Tom. He had something he needed to get done, and people didn't have it. He yelled at him, I said I won't, blah, 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 blah. And the person ran out. I said, go on, I like that. You know, he said, get it right here. And Tom Coburn told us, my wife Joy's mother worked in Pat, blanket on her name, the congresswoman from Denver worked in her office. She was in constituent services. And Tom Coburn said, Pat, I can't remember her last name, was the person who came to me when I'm a freshman congressman. She came and introduced me to people. She showed me around. She was very nice. That was back in those days. So, you know, and Tom was our doctor. We gave him a beautiful book on Africa because he had been doing good stuff with anti-malaria stuff in Africa. And so, yeah, I voted that one time. I didn't vote again, but I did vote him. I did vote him then because he was part of the family. He delivered our son. So, yeah, Dick Crawford, Tom Coburn one time. Yeah, but those were people, those were Republicans who were not well, I can't say that about Tom. But anyway, there were people who you could talk to. Now we have a situation now where folks are really, they don't want to talk. They just want to have the power and to keep the power. So we're at the tip of the spear, church. It is us. Dr. King was talking to us. Dr. King was saying, we are caught in this inescapable network of mutuality. And he knew that we knew what he was talking about because our 7 principles said that. So we are the ones, but we cannot stop being who it is. And I know it's hard. That's part of this book. The book talks about people saying, I have to throw up their hands, right? It is difficult because we have this overlay that says you're not supposed to be in contact with those people who are different. And we have that kind of overlay that's over us, and you're always battling against that. And that's tough sometimes. Sometimes you just want to relax. In this book, someone asked someone at All Souls, why is it that the people of color don't come to the Wednesday connections as often as the other folks do? And the person responding, a person of color, said, they are resting. And and I agree with that. Sometimes you need to rest. So it's difficult to go on and on and on, to be constantly rebuffed, or to have to explain, or to get angry, and then they say, ooh, angry black man, or ooh, angry white guy. It's not easy. Sometimes that happens, but church, we got to keep pushing past it. And that's the story of being a multiracial, anti-racist congregation. That's the story. We talk about love, church. Love is what is going to get us through this, because hope comes out of love. I have children. I didn't want to have children because of what the world would be like, but we did. And so now my kids will be 26 and 23. Now they're adults, and they're handling it, And I think part of that is because of the community that they're around. They're around the folks that say, yes, you can. And that's what we can do. Yes, join a group, but also be kind to your loved ones, because they need a little rest too. And so be kind to them. Let them feel that heart. Let them feel that heart, that character, that content of your character. Show that to your loved ones. Let them know that this is tough business that we're doing out here. But we can do it. We keep pushing. There's folks behind us, church. My kids, like I told you, they're in their 20s. They're coming behind us. They're going to take leadership. There are other folks that we know. They're coming behind us. They're going to look to us. How did they do it? We may not always get it right, but we get it. You hear what I'm saying? We are in the fray. We will not be removed. We shall not be moved. Just like a tree planted by the waters. We shall not be moved. Church, I'm about to go. But before I leave, I want everyone in here to say to themselves, yes, I can. Amen. Yes.